11.5. There's not a whole lot to cover here, and it's not that complicated. I know that's disappointing to you. You'd like a long, complicated video, I know, but it's okay. There'll be others. So, solutions. Solutions are homogeneous mixtures of two or more substances. You already know that. Suspension, this is stuff you've already heard before. Suspension is a mixture where it's not really, it's not a homogeneous mixture, and given enough time, the particles would settle in the solvent. So like, for example, if we had dirty water, the dirt, you could stir it up, but given enough time, the dirt would settle to the bottom. It's not going to stay there, and it's not homogeneous. It's not the same throughout. A colloid is when one or more substances are dispersed and they're relatively solid particles or liquid droplets in another medium, and they do not settle due to gravity. So a suspension, they will settle over time, like dirty water. The dirt will come down to the bottom, but a colloid would not. So for example, milk, you keep milk in the fridge and its components don't settle. But if it was filtered, if you use centrifugation or a filter, then the particles are big enough that they would separate out. So for example, if you, for some reason, tried to drink milk through a water filter or pour milk into a water filter, it would separate a lot of the components of the milk away from the water. And that would be gross. I don't know why you would do that, but that's an example. Or another colloid, if you have dust particles in the air, that's a colloid, really, because if they're just in the air and they're small enough to not settle, then they're staying in the air. But if you had like a mask filter, then you would breathe in cleaner air. And this is why my wife tells me when it's dusty outside, I really should be wearing these. And technically, if you read research, I will say she is right. The science says that if it's dusty in the car, if you look up health advice, it actually does say you should be wearing a mask as a filter against the colloid of the dusty air. So, colloids do not settle over time. Suspensions do. The Tyndall effect, a nice name, the Tyndall effect is light scattering by particles in a colloid. So for example, these skylights, what are they hitting? They're hitting dust particles and other things in the air, and that's why you can see them. If the air was pure, like only small gas molecules, then these lights wouldn't work. It's only because of the fog and smoke, etc., and dust that these lights work. Colloids do not refer to solute and solvent, rather dispersed phase and dispersed medium, because they're not really a solution, because they can still be separated by filtration or something like that. And it can be different phases, so I mentioned two, so it's not just two liquids, it can be all sorts of phases. And so this last slide that was in the book mentions a lot of those. So I mentioned like smoke and dust, right? We get plenty of dust in the car, lots of fun, right? And like I said, you actually technically should wear a mask filter on days like that. So when you see people doing that, they're technically doing what they're supposed to do. But there's all sorts of other ones. Whipped cream, liquid and gas. So a gas in the middle of the liquid in the whipped cream is an example of a colloid. So milk, mayonnaise, butter, other colloids, liquids and liquids. Although we don't tend to think of mayonnaise as a liquid. So, hey, you can, next time there's mayonnaise out, you can tell your people in the dorm or whatever, hey, this is a liquid. No, it's not. And then you take out your AP Chem text and see, it says it's a liquid right here. So I don't want, that's kind of outside the context. But that is all it for this section. So again, not a long, complicated video. I know you're terribly disappointed, but next time.